Good afternoon, everyone. Just so you know, this session will be recorded, so it can be made available following this event to anybody who isn't able to make it. Welcome to today's AMA session. This is our second Ask Me Anything session that we're holding for the Cyber Innovators Challenge. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Angela Austin, and I work for National Security Innovation Network. We are a program office nested within Defense Innovation Unit. Our mission is to build networks of innovators to generate new solutions to national security problems. And so we put on challenges like this one and execute them through our platform idea scale. In this challenge, we're working in partnership with the University Consortium of Cybersecurity, and they're aiming to identify individuals or teams that are capable of developing solutions to address these critical cyber threats faced by the DoD. We today will have a subject matter expert available to answer some questions, and we're going to be using the tool that's on the activities triangular shaped button. There's a Q&A button within there, and you can go ahead and enter your questions through there. You can start entering them now, or you can at any point during the session put them in there. So that's how we're going to work through the questions. And just to give an overview of this challenge and what we're looking at here. So we're going to have up to 15 students or teams, 5 from each topic area, selected as finalists to participate in the virtual pitch day. And that's going to be in July. We have a total of 1 million in awards available to the top performers. And I'm going to walk through some of the finer details of this challenge here. So just all of this is also available in the campaign page and idea scale. But we have the solicitation window, the open call announcement. It's going to close on the 21st of June. So at this point, we've got a little bit more time left to submit your proposals, and then the down selection process will begin. And on the 2nd of July is when we will send out notifications as far as who's been selected to move forward as a finalist. And from there, we will have a pitch rehearsal on July 12th, and the pitch event will be on July 15th. And then the winner will be announced by the 22nd of July. So that gives you an idea of what the main milestones are there. As part of the submission process, these are the details for the white paper, and the specifications again can be found in idea scale on the campaign page. This is also part of your submission will be the pitch deck. Again, all listed in the campaign page, so you can find this there. And then before I get too far into the judging criteria and details like that, I do want to dive into today's discussion and introduce Dr. Gwyneth Sutherland. She is the director of UC2, and she's going to talk a little bit more about why these problems are important and their mission there. So Gwyneth, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Angela. So we are really delighted to be partnering with the National Security Innovation Network and to be offering this challenge. And the challenge is unique in a few ways. First, that it is broken out into 3 different topic areas, and each one looks at a little bit different aspect or dimension of cybersecurity, which you will certainly notice as you read through. We are very interested in teams and researchers, and the reason for this is because we were set up under the National Defense Authorization Act to bring together the DoD and academia to collaborate, to communicate, to have access between these 2 communities. And that is why we are interested in both a scientific deliverable and this partnership engagement plan, which I can see there's already several questions about. So we really want to ask for your proposals, your creativity on both these hard challenges in the cybersecurity realm, as well as the engagement that gets after our mission, which is collaboration, communication, and access. And that's why we've talked about this partner engagement plan. So if you can continue on to the actual topics. Okay, so we have 3 topics. And these topics are things that we have arrived at through discussions with all of our different DoD partners that include commands, services. Really, a vast number of stakeholders have contributed to many discussions and sharing what their challenges are so that we can bring these forward out to you, the academic community, who can propose against these. And we've tried to give some details on what this might mean from our perspective, but we're interested in your creativity and your criticality on how you would address them. And each one is slightly different. That's why we broke them out into 3 different things. So they require different expertise, different skills, a different approach. Predictive modeling and analytics has aspects that consider social, cultural, and behavioral science. And so we talk about models, but also the skills behind how to create these models. And we give a couple of illustrative examples. This is not exclusive. We were trying to not go on for 900 pages on what this means to us. We're interested in what this also could mean to you and what you're working on at the forefront of, of your field in this, or your fields if you're a team. Okay, next one. Persona and influence has to do, again, with both cyberspace and identity intelligence, but it also has to do with spoofing and fabrication. So there are some aspects that have to do with deception and masquerading techniques. It has to do with the technical aspects as well as the behavioral aspect. And we have highlighted in here workforce programs and skills that help us identify and understand and operate in this realm. You'll see again that we mention language, cultural, and ethical implications around these aspects. So I encourage you to read all of these because we were very, very sparse in our descriptions. What we have included here does matter. So to continue to think about this, and we have these AMAs for you to ask us questions to expand on or to clarify aspects of any of this. And there is a format also to write in and email questions that Angela will talk about again. Next one, please. Data and permeability is a different dimension where we have recognized that there is a problem about data generally. And this is both in terms of getting data and then how to protect it between classified sources and its different uh, areas where we have cleared and uncleared partners. So there's a cross-domain challenge. We've highlighted again some different aspects of this, but you and your experience may have encountered different aspects that you want to highlight and raise our awareness around. And we included here that there may be aspects of strategy that we need to pursue or legal challenges. So this is yet another skill set or another area of expertise that can be addressed that's different than some of the technical challenges and topics in the first 2 topics. Okay, so that's a brief overview of some of the different dimensions. And then we break out technical capabilities. So when we get into what we're delivering and what this should look like as a potential solution, these are things that we might be looking for in terms of how your proposal would create something. And these are just potential ways that you could, in each one of these areas, have something that, for instance, in topic area 2, identity intelligence or behavioral analysis could be the thing that is the capability. Angela, I hand it back to you.
So I'm going to run through the process quickly again for questions. We have them all entered in the Q&A function. So if you go to the lower right-hand corner and you see the little triangular shapes button, you can click on that, scroll down to the Q&A button, and then put your questions in there. And as we're going through, we'll work our way through those. And I will start with our first one. So we have a question that says the application requests info about our planned engagement with a DoD partner. Can you please clarify if we are required to name a specific DoD entity that we plan to partner with in our proposal? Gwyneth, did you want to answer that one?
Sure. No,
Thank you.
you are not. What I think would be helpful is if you were to describe for instance, what your audience might be. If you're imagining how your solution, you might also imagine and propose a potential DoD entity that you want to engage with, but we're not requiring you to have an existing relationship or to formalize that in any way. Some teams or individuals may have an existing relationship and you could write to that, but it's not a requirement that you do. What we are looking for is how you would engage potentially with a DoD partner. So it often helps to have something concrete in mind to be able to describe what that engagement plan looks like.
Great, thank you. Next question. I am originally from Iran, but currently residing in the USA on a student visa and pursuing a PhD in computer science. Could you please confirm whether I am eligible to participate in this challenge given my residency status? Thank you for that question. Unfortunately, you are not able to on a student visa. That status does not allow you to fit the eligibility requirements. And our next question, is there a readout or link to the prior AMA so that we don't repeat questions? There is a link. If you go to the campaign page and idea scale and you look at the top box overview, there will be a link there to the Q&A forum. And within that Q&A forum, you will find this recording will also be there within a week, and the previous recording is there. Could you please clarify if we are required to name, oh, this one was already asked.
Can I interject? The
Sure.
the aspect about obtaining consent, if you propose a particular DoD entity, you don't need consent, and this does not tie you to working with them, nor does it tie them to working with you. We're just asking you to propose an idea on how you would work with the DoD.
Thank you. Do the references count towards the white paper 5-page limit?
That's for me. Yes, no, they do not.
They do not. Okay.
But I would try and I I don't I think that's in there.
Yeah, I just pulled it up to see if it was specifically written.
Generally, and thank you for that specific clarification. Generally, I would follow academic rules that references are not counted as part of your that content.
Great, thank you. The next question says, any caveats or special consideration points for any military applicants, in parentheses, applying from Air Force's Air University? I can just speak to this regarding the criteria that isn't written in as a scorable component to your submission. And Gwyneth, I don't know if you have any other insight there.
I'm delighted in your interest, but it is not one of the submission criteria. You're being evaluated on the ideas.
Next question. Is it open to faculty working at service academies? I am running this by our legal team to ensure I provide the correct answer to this. So the response to this will be provided after this AMA session and posted to the Q&A forum. and we are tracking this one. The next question, are faculty with lawful permanent resident, not U.S. citizen, eligible to apply? If not, are they allowed to be team members? Permanent resident status is allowed. So yes, to answer your question, they are eligible to apply and eligible as the team members. What is the deliverable for this challenge? Are you just looking for the pitch, or do you want code submissions as well? The deliverables are the white paper and then the pitch deck. And also in the submission form, there are a lot of fields there to fill in regarding the partner engagement aspect. Gwyneth, did you want to speak on the code submissions part?
There is not, what I'm understanding from the question is you're asking for code or there's no period of performance to then create the code or the analytics. It's just the white paper, the pitch deck, the partner engagement plan, not the execution to create the code for what you're proposing.
Great, thank you. How detailed should you go into IP related content? Our work is currently patent pending. Gwyneth, I'll turn that one over to you.
And I think that's a great question. Thank you for raising that, to have that on our record here. I think we got a similar question about IP in our last AMA. So I think that was a question for the general counsel that is partly covered in the details on the idea scale, but I think that is something for NSIN, the extent to which that is covered there. I think you guys answered that already in last AMA. Do you remember that one? Because I would like you guys to go over that one already. Because this is not something that is being delivered, it remains you guys' idea. It remains the proposer's idea. And the extent to which you go into IP related content is not something that you are delivering to be developed. So that is up to you on how much you want to share with reviewers who are government or have an NDA. I think that shouldn't be a worry in terms of sharing it to be reviewed. Angela, I don't know if you want to share again or post again what we had from the last question on this topic.
Yes, thank you. Megan just put in the chat box what the IP language states on the solicitation or the campaign page and idea scale. And I would agree with you, Gwyneth, that ultimately that's up to the student or team to decide how detailed they get. But the parameters that we've laid out as far as IP can be found in the chat. And I just think that ultimately the decision lies on the team. The next question, do you have to be associated with academia to submit to this challenge? Yes, we do allow students or teams or faculty. The eligibility criteria I don't have in this slide deck, but Megan, if you can just copy and paste the eligibility criteria and put it in the chat, that references everything that you need to know to determine whether or not you are eligible. And I'll get that posted in there shortly.
Our mission and mandate is to support academic research. So we don't support private industry.
We do, however, at NSIN have many challenges focused on early to mid-stage ventures. So there are opportunities for that as well. But this one in particular, like Gwyneth mentioned, is just for academia. Okay, the next question, how are the funds distributed? Is it through the affiliated universities to individuals who are applying? And is it provided on milestone deliverables if selected? Okay. So the first part of this question I'll answer is just the award itself does not have any strings attached. However, if you are part of a UARC, I understand that there's a requirement that the money is to be used because it gets awarded to the entity, not the individuals, that there are requirements within the organization that it is applied to research. However, on our end, we award and there are no strings attached. In this case, we have not, to my knowledge, awarded the UARCs. Typically, we're awarding individuals. And so I will have to get back as to whether or not there is a specific requirement that if it is a UARC that we are awarding to the entity by the individuals. But usually the way that we do it is for a team, it's distributed between the team members. So I do need to get back on a portion of this question regarding what entities might be awarded differently, and that it has to go to the organization instead of the individuals. But hopefully I was able to answer most of that question. Let's see. Next question. Can we include letters of support from the community in the application? We do not have a spot or a field for that. Gwyneth, is that something that you would like to think about and potentially consider?
I would agree there's not a requirement for it, and I would agree that your submission format doesn't have it. If you wanted to include it, you could put it in your pitch deck.
Okay. Great.
I'm not against it.
Okay, great. Normally, CVs are not included in research papers at all. Should we summarize experience in the white paper or pitch, or provide CVs separate from the white paper? Gwyneth, do you want to field this question?
I don't think that we ask for that directly, but if you think that that is going to speak to one of our evaluation criteria or speak to one aspect of the proposal, such as the partner engagement plan, or would be valuable to be mentioned in the pitch deck, then I encourage you to include it. So, Angela, can you scroll to the evaluation criteria?
Yes.
Oh, you just missed it. There you go. So, if you feel that for this question about CV or for letters of support, anything like that, that can speak to any of these criteria, you should include them. You can be creative about how you want to meet the judging criteria. You can write something that is a narrative that speaks to the technical merit, but if you think that your expertise speaks to the technical merit, or a letter of support speaks to the technical merit, or the operational effectiveness, or one of these things, you need to meet the judging criteria. How are you going to do that? That's up to you. I can't speak to how you want to meet the judging criteria. You should just think about how you want to do that.
Okay, thank you. Could you post the link to the video recording and Q&A of the previous AMA? The Q&A forum is posted in the chat box, and through there, you will find the link to the previous AMA. Megan, I'll just ask if you can drop in the link directly to that recording as well, if you get a chance.
Yes, it's already in the chat.
Great, thank you. Is it permissible for team members to be faculty at various institutions? Per the eligibility criteria, I do not see any issue with that. Gwyneth, do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Is there a way to get more information about the different topics? I had some confusion about the first topic. This would be the way to get more information by asking those specific questions. This is from Akul. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, so I apologize, but please, if you'd like to elaborate on specifics that more information that you're curious about, please drop it in the Q&A function here. Or if we come to the end of the questions and you'd like to raise your hand and go about it that way, we're more than happy to do that too once we get through the questions. Additionally, I'll just mention also while we're on the topic, you can also reach out and email challenges@ensign.mil. And again, I know we keep mentioning the Q&A forum, but I'll just say again how you find your way there. If you're in the Idea Skill campaign page where you see this challenge announcement listed, in the upper top box, it says overview, and you'll find there a link to the Q&A forum. And that's where you can go in, much like you enter your questions here, you can do that there. And we go in and have those questions answered on a regular basis. So that's another format in which you can submit a question and receive a response. Okay, it looks like we are at the end of the questions here. So while we're waiting for any more questions to get put into the Q&A function here, does anybody want to raise their hand and ask questions directly? Please feel free to do so. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I have a quick question about the first topic. I'm wondering the exact, I'm wondering about the description. So it initially says about modeling, and then there's a couple bullet points about messaging, methods of transmission, amplification, and then modeling for understanding information environments, malign influence campaigns. Um, is there a certain, so for modeling, is there like a certain, target problem that is being tried to model? Because as far as I can tell, it just based on the overall description, seems like modeling for host and network level problems.
Okay, thank you for that question. I would describe the larger text as the description of how we understand the problem of modeling and predictive analytics, or some different dimensions of those problems, and the bullet points as some different potential examples. I would say that you don't have to go after all of it, just different parts that speak to your interest or skills.
Great, thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Great. Mr. Clancy, you had your hand raised. Do you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. Two questions, but I'll ask one now and then raise my hand again and be called on later. With the question on the funding, I'm working through the university bureaucracy and they're having a hard time believing there's no obligation, milestones, deliverables. Is there something written we can give them about, like normally in a proposal, there would be sort of or an RFP, there would be some sort of document that explains that?
Well, US code outlines prize challenges and that they are just purely an award with no strings attached.
So it's referring to the code. Okay.
So I don't, in the solicitation, it references, if you scroll all the way down, they do reference as part of like the legal language to help set up and adhere to the competitive process for potential follow-on activities. We have listed there some of the specifics regarding US code and what applies to this challenge. And so you should be able to find it there because it's listed there. But if if that's not clear, I can also just send you directly what US code would reference and explain that so that they can read it. Is that helpful?
Very much so. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Did you raise your hand again, Mr. Clancy, or was that just still up from before?
Yeah, there's a second separate question, but I'm willing to wait my turn after other people.
I don't think anybody else, you're the only one, so please go ahead.
So on modeling and predictive analytics, it seems like there's two things going on here. One of which is help us solve this problem related to some sort of cybersecurity thing with a model. The other is the skills to use them, which is more like how do we train people to use models as opposed to a model itself. Are you looking for submissions that tackle one or the other, or do they need to be merged submissions that says, here's a model that we may use, and here is a way to teach the skills to use this model? Over.
Thank you for that question. So I think that's a little similar to one of the previous questions. And yes, we are cramming a lot in here that all has to do with modeling and predictive analytics. There is more than one dimension that is being looked at in the description, and also each of the bullets has something a little bit different that is described. You don't have to go after all of it. I would lean towards what you think is interesting, what you or your team is most suited to address, or if you want to create a team around a particular aspect, that's where I would go. The other thing that might be helpful for both of those questions is, as I talked about at the beginning, these three topics came about because of going and speaking to all of the different commands and services. So many different DoD entities having problems, and these are a synthesis of many things that fall under this general topic area.
Great, thank you. Mr. Shepherd, please go ahead.
So I know you said that you had to be a member of academia to participate. For example, I'm not a member of academia. I'm a member of industry. But if I like partnered with somebody who I knew who wasn't a member of academia and we submitted together, are there allowed to be mixed teams of industry and academic participation?
I think we haven't had this before, so I want to think about it a little bit more and get back with an official answer for you. But on first thought, I think if you're submitting under the individual who meets the eligibility criteria, then the team is eligible. As far as payment and eligibility, it might all have to be filtered through the main member who meets the eligibility requirements. But let me speak with our team who can advise on specifics to the eligibility, and I'll get back via the Q&A forum on this. I see we have another question here. Is the partner engagement part of the 5-page requirement? The partner engagement section is actually a portion of the submission form. So all of the information that is required there for you to provide is actually in separate fields in the submission form. So part of it's just general basic information on your team. And then there's a section on the partner engagement portion. Gwyneth, was there anything you wanted to elaborate on for that question?
No.
Okay. And I see your hand was raised.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I had just another question about the partner engagement. This will be the first time we've written anything like that. We have written like a broadening, you know, something similar for NSF. We're wondering, is there any examples we might be able to see of what that might look like, or how to kind of go about writing such a partner engagement plan? Is it like broadening participation in computing that's done for NSF?
Thank you. That's a great question. So to the best of my knowledge, having worked with most government research organizations, we don't currently have something like this. So that's actually a novel thing that we are providing back to particularly DoD research organizations. That's why we're interested in this as a deliverable. That's not helpful in terms of giving you guys an example. I would look to our mission statement for UC2, and what we're aiming to provide is increased communication, collaboration, and access between academia and the DoD. So we are looking for ways to do this. And we're looking for this as much as we're looking for the science, because the science doesn't matter if we can't use it and see it and partner together.
Thank you. Go ahead again, please.
Yeah, just another follow-up on that question. How do you find out if your university is part of UC2? Is that all, American universities are part of this consortium, or is it certain universities? And does it help if university is part of this consortium?
Excellent question. I would say everyone is a part and no one is a part. I did not come up with the name, Congress did. So, and it's somewhat misleading because it does make you think that there are members, but we can't have members because we couldn't have open competition if we had members. So it's the name that Congress came up with is the simple answer.
That answer your question? Okay, I see a couple more questions here in the Q&A forum, so let me get to those. You may have already, sorry, hard to see the whole question at once. Okay, you may have already answered this question. Can faculty in a department but affiliated with a UARC submit a proposal? Yes. The white paper asks for partner engagement in section G, but there is also a section of this in the submission page. Does the same content need to be submitted both for the submission portal and the white paper? What is the difference between the section in the submission portal and the white paper? Let me get over to the white paper. Okay, so Gwyneth, I know we captured all of the information specific to what we were looking to gather in the submission form. Do you want to leave this up to their discretion as far as how much or what they put into the white paper, or provide additional guidance to this?
No, this, I would stick with this guidance that I would have it in the white paper.
Okay, great. Thanks. And I see Mr. Bopana has his hand raised. Please go ahead.
Actually, I posted the question in the Q&A. I mistyped it. If I'm a faculty member, but not part of any university center, can I still submit it an application?
If you're a faculty member but not part of
A
university.
university center or institute, but a part of a department,
Yeah.
can I still submit a proposal?
Yeah, if I'm understanding correctly, yes. You're just saying if you're not part of a UARC or one of the federally funded
No,
institutes.
I'm part of a department in a university, but not part of a UARC.
Mhm. Yes, you are eligible.
Okay, another question is, can one submit more than one proposal, like for multiple topics, different topics?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And while I don't see any other questions, so please enter them in if you have any. And while we're doing that, I just wanted to talk about the pitch day for a moment. So the pitch day is going to be virtual on the 15th of July. The exact time will be coming soon, and we will post that in idea scale on the timeline section where you see the pitch event referenced. But I want to give you a better idea of what the pitch event looks like. So we have a 5-minute pitch presentation followed by 5 minutes of Q&A from the subject matter experts and judging panel. And the criteria for that pitch event is the same that we already have listed on the website. So that's what you're being scored off of. But the pitch event typically for 15 different teams presenting will be somewhere around 3 hours. We'll have some people speak up front and then go into those presentations. And so each team or individual will have 10 minutes and then there'll be some deliberations in between. So that's what that virtual event looks like. There's no travel required or anything like that, but I just wanted to touch on that because we hadn't gone into much detail there. And we have another question regarding problem set number 3, data impermeability. I am having difficulty linking the ideas trade-off between classified sources and uncleared partners and creating synthetic threats, users' activity, and simulating real-world networks. Could you offer clarification on this problem statement? I'll turn that one over to you, Gwyneth.
Sure. Can you flip back to the full slide for that, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So again, this topic, like the other 3, has several pieces in it, and you're not required to necessarily address all of them, although you may. I would encourage you to focus on aspects that you're most interested in or most skilled with your expertise on, or create teams if you want to create teams around those aspects. So the first part of the question, the trade-off between classified sources and uncleared partners at the top in the description, is an issue that we often encounter. For instance, working between the government, the DoD, and academia, where the DoD works most frequently in classified spaces and academia may not. And we would like to collaborate, but this creates an inherent barrier. And on cybersecurity topics, this is very, very hard. So that's one issue. If we want to work on challenges together, inherently communicating and collaborating and having access, what does that look like? There are a lot of other topics having to do with data as we rely on data that can be extrapolated from that initial barrier. And so that also extends to the concept of permeability. The aspect that was brought up in the second part of the question, creating synthetic threats and users, is something that people look at often to address this challenge. So maybe we just create an environment where everyone can come together. Does that necessarily address the data impermeability aspect, or is it is that a solution? Is it not? That's one of the potential. All of these bullet points in each one of the topics is a potential example or use case that we say, maybe look at this. It's not exclusive. These are just potential examples that were gathered from all of the stakeholders that are interested in this topic. So again, it may speak to one of the aspects highlighted in the description, and it may speak to your skill set and your interests. If it doesn't, then don't focus on that part. Focus on the part that does. So if you're confused by one of those things, then that's probably not for you. That's the other way to look at it. I would focus on the part that does call to you and calls to your skill set and build on that. And be creative. And usually if it speaks to you and it's something that you're working on and something you're interested in, then that will begin to come alive. We've seen really good results with that. So again, this merges a lot of things. It highlights as many things as we could highlight in a very, very condensed solicitation. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Gwyneth. Mr. Lamp, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. So I just had a quick question for y'all regarding kind of a follow-up to that white paper question. It seems like there's actually kind of two sections here too, where there's like kind of the team description. Are you saying that we should go off of our white paper, make sure that all of those sections that are indicated in the white paper section be included there? And then since to me, it seems like there's overlap from the submission portal, my kind of go-to feeling is to kind of copy and paste that over to the submission portal from the white paper, like kind of redundant information. I'm not sure if that's correct, but that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting.
Gwyneth, did you want to provide? On a technical level, my advice would be to, make the decision, and it's really ultimately up to you. But Gwyneth, if you wanted to provide more insight, please feel free.
Oh, I was going to give an unsatisfactory answer to the NSIN team who has more experience with designing the portal. I want the information in the white paper.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, I don't see any current questions right now. Please feel free to raise your hand if you have another question you want to ask, or Gwyneth, was there anything that you wanted to take some time to elaborate on at this point? No? Okay. All right. Well, if you haven't already, grab those links from the chat. If you need them, our website or our email address to ask questions directly to the NSIN team is challenges@nsin.mil. And feel free to reach out to us there or on the Q&A forum with any additional questions that come after this. I'm really happy that we had such a good turnout today and a really good discussion, a lot of good questions. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Gwyneth. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.